So this is Joe Leigh here for Seconds Out, joined by Danny Flexen. We're back. The Dream Team's back. This time we're talking Anthony Joshua, Oleksandr Usyk, the undercard. We'll start off kind of covering the main fights. There are some obviously walkover fights for some people starting off. Danny, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Thank you. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, good to be back on camera with you. Yeah, we can cover the Ben Whittaker fight, Daniel Lapin, Ukrainian young light heavyweight. Quickly, they're both in simple fights. We think Ben's obviously going to win, and he's been added to the card late as well, which is good for Sky.
What an experience for Ben Whittaker. You know, he's Olympic silver medalist, first huge opportunity in his career out in Saudi Arabia on a world heavyweight title show on Sky Sports as well. Of course, he's a boxer fighter, so it makes sense in that respect as well. But just, yeah, amazing opportunity for him. And you don't expect him to be tested particularly harshly this early in his career anyway. So, yeah, great occasion for him.
Yeah, he mentioned at the press conference, he said, you needed me on this card because all these other young fighters, like, you need someone like me. So he's already becoming that character of people, of one that people aren't going to like, but he knows that, and he also knows that it's going to sell. It gets him on these kinds of cards at the end of the day.
Yeah, like big fan of Ben Whittaker. He's gone out of his comfort zone, obviously working with Sugar Hill Stewart,
Mm.
who's done wonders with Tyson Fury and changing his style. And Whittaker got all the ability in the world, just needs to adjust to the pro game, keep discipline. Seems like the sort of character will work very hard. And yeah, excited to see him in action.
Definitely. Daniel Lapin, a young, as I say, Ukrainian light heavyweight. He's been on the Usyk AJ fight, the first card. So he's kind of there for a reason, there to get a win, there to shine for those Ukrainian people to look at. Not so much we're not necessarily the demographic that he's on the card for. And I don't know too much about him, but yeah, it looks like he'll be getting a comfortable win as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's a promising prospect, not in the league of Ben Whittaker in terms of amateur pedigree, but
Yeah.
a talented fighter. Again, a great opportunity for him through his links with Usyk. He was on the first fight, so the magnitude of the occasion won't be completely new to him. But it'll be interesting to see what he's got. You would expect anyone associated with Usyk and his team to have that ability and to have that mindset that sets Usyk apart, or at least similar. So yeah, it should be interesting.
Yeah, I guess we can kind of do the same with Ramla Ali. It's kind of the stage that she's on as opposed to the fight that she's having.
It's a huge kind of month for female boxing. I was talking about this to someone in the gym this morning, and you've got Ramla Ali, the first ever female fight in Saudi Arabia, which is historic. But then going into September, you've got Natasha Jonas maybe going on last in that Liverpool show. You've got Sky's all-female show, and then on the Joyce Parker undercard, not only Raven Chapman, who's Frank Warren's only female fighter, but you've got another female world title fight on there with Amanda Serrano coming over. I mean, it's just what a time for women's boxing.
Yeah, I think sooner rather than later, we're going to start to see the younger fighters. We're all already kind of seeing that, but the younger fighters who were inspired by these big nights, the Taylor Serrano fights, etc. We're kind of seeing people who were inspired by Katie Taylor already, but it's yeah, just onwards and upwards.
Yeah, I think what Sky are doing particularly is impressive, because it would have been easy to have Savannah Marshall, Clarissa Shields as the main event. There's a long running feud, and there's a commercial aspect to it, and then just stack it with male ticket sellers on the undercard. So you kind of say, well, we've got something for everyone, but still making a statement. And
Yeah,
instead, they've kind of doubled down and made it an all female card, which I think is pretty awesome as a
yeah.
statement. And they've also got the best female stable in British boxing. They've got so many signed up to them now. It makes sense to kind of get them all out as well, and give them a showcase.
Yeah, definitely. Andrew Tabiti, Badou Jack, none of their opponents were on stage at the press conference. I don't know why that is. Andrew Tabiti will start with. I think I know why his opponent wasn't on stage, because he's expected to win as well. Which we're saying this with too many of the fighters. But yeah, what do you know about him? I know he's in AJ's camp and he's been with AJ for a bit.
Yeah, Tabiti's a good fighter. He was doing really well as a cruiserweight. I think he was with Mayweather Promotions before.
Mm, mm,
And then he lost to Uniel Dorticos in the
yes.
WBSS. And I think that set him back massively. It was a grueling fight. He took a lot of punishment. He started off really well, a really neat boxer, fast, but just got kind of ground down. Dorticos is clever anyway, but hits very hard. What is it? KO Doctor, I think is his nickname. And just, yeah, I think that was a kind of devastating defeat. I think he's had a couple back against people he's expected to beat. When I was looking on BoxRec earlier, it looked like this one's going to be up at heavyweight and the opponent's been fighting at heavyweight, which is interesting because Tabiti didn't look like, he's big enough, but he didn't look like he was kind of struggling with the cruiserweight limit.
Yeah, exactly. That was his only loss to Dorticus. And I think this weekend is kind of a big way to get back in people's ratings, people's rankings as well. I don't know why it is that heavier, but it'd be interesting to see. Badou Jack's actually in a good fight. His opponents, when his last 4 by stoppage, 3 of them are in round 1. So I feel like that's something where Badou Jack's obviously been in massive fights before. This isn't anywhere near as tough as people he's fought before, but I think this could be like the shocker of the card. I could really see it being a tough fight for Badou Jack. He's been around how long now?
Yeah, he's 38 years old. I interviewed him last night actually on Zoom, and that's going live. Actually, it might have gone live while we've been talking, but he wants to be a 3-weight world champion. I don't consider his light heavyweight championship that he won from Nathan Cleverly to be a full world title. I think it was the WBA secondary belt. Regardless, he's a great guy, a great fighter, humanitarian, philanthropist and everything. He's a good guy. And Richard Rivera's got nothing to lose. He's unbeaten. He's a star boxing fighter. He's not got a high profile, so this will do a lot for him regardless of the result. And Badou Jack, it just depends how much he's got left. Usually when he's gone in with fighters of this caliber, and that's no disrespect to Rivera, he's got the job done in pretty brutal, quick fashion. So I think if Rivera does win, it says a lot about him, but also something about Badou Jack slipping perhaps as well, which kind of hope that's not the case. He's done a lot for boxing in that region as well. It's his first fight in Saudi Arabia specifically. So I'd like to see him kind of get his hand raised, but yeah, we'll see what he's got left in the tank.
And another little plug to the interview. Obviously, we've got loads coming from Saudi Arabia, Jeddah, on the channel right now and across the weekend. But what was he saying? Anything you can drop in this preview now about how he's feeling? Do you believe what he's saying? Can he become a 3-weight world champion?
I think he was including. So he was a world champion at super middle, light heavyweight. I don't really consider to be because there was a WBA super champion at the weight. And then obviously light heavy, he doesn't seem to get the rub of the green in really close fights. George Groves might have something to say about that, but he's had draws that probably should have been wins for him against Pascal and people like that, and it's tough. Butte, I think, was another one where he probably should have won. So it's whether he's still got enough left. I mean, he lives a very healthy life. He doesn't fight too regularly. That he's but he's been in a few wars. Obviously, the DeGale fight, we all remember DeGale losing his teeth, but it was a hard fight on Badou Jack as well. And he's had a few like that. So I don't know. I mean, looking at recent form, he's still got something to offer.
Yeah.
So I think he'll get past Rivera, but whether he can do it at the top of that division, because if it carries on the way it's been going recently, Beterbiev will be the only champion, depending on what Bivol decides to do going forward. But either Bivol or Beterbiev, can we see Badou Jack beating either of those guys? I'd make him a real second favourite against either.
Yeah, definitely. I think him being in tough fights is what kind of brings me to hope. I just want a little shocker on the card. I don't want everyone on the left side of BoxRec to be winning. And I think this is the best chance. We'll go on to Filip Hrgovic, Zhilei Zhang, and Filip Hrgovic is on the left-hand side, so you can guess what I'm about to say about this one. I'll let you go first, but for me, yeah, Hrgovic is a comfortable winner.
Yeah, I agree. I think Hrgovic pisses it. I think Zhang, I think he's had he's been a pro for 2 or 3 years longer than Hrgovic to get to the same level of this kind of IBF final eliminator. So he's obviously been kind of protected. He was a good amateur, but not a better amateur than Hrgovic, and obviously 8 years older than the Croatian as well. Hrgovic hasn't fought anyone of elite level yet, or even kind of above the fringe world level yet. But from the eye test, from people that have sparred him, he does look like a real threat to the top names in the heavyweight division. Zhang, not so much. Drew with Jerry Forrest. No disrespect to Forrest.
Great fight. Great fight.
Forrest is a good fighter. And Zhang came out later on and said he had problems caused by dehydration, health issues that maybe forced him to fade. I know he had Forrest down, 3 times in the first 2 rounds and then faded alarmingly. Can't afford to do that against Hrgovic if he makes it through the first 2 rounds this time. I expect Hrgovic to get the job done inside schedule. But yeah, again, Zhang, I guess for his nation, Chinese rep and amateur star, to be on a card of this magnitude is probably a pretty cool thing for him as well.
Yeah, he's been 10 rounds twice. He's usually fighting inside the distance. And for that reason, the Jerry Fires fight was tougher. There could have been outside reasons, but when you don't go the distance often, then you generally going to be more exhausted in the later rounds. And that's exactly what we saw. That fight for me was, it just showed me a bit of inexperience. I just feel as if, although Filip Hrgovic isn't the most experienced, he's got what it takes to do the job in the Coco main event. Onto the co-main, the last one of this video, Callum Smith, Matteo Bordelic.
Close enough.
He's actually a decent fighter. It's obviously for the WBC light heavyweight mandatory position. Number 1 winner will fight Beterbiev. What do you think of this?
Bodelic's a decent fighter. He's the European champion, tricky southpaw, but shorter than Callum Smith, not mixed in the same company, not as powerful.
Not as power, but not as powerful, yeah.
Not as powerful, not as used to fighting on the big stage or abroad. I think all his fights so far have been in France. Callum Smith, his only losses to Canelo, and he took him the distance at a time when Canelo was banging people out for fun. Callum Smith, very, very good technical fighter, great jab, great left hook, good body puncher as well. He can struggle. We saw him struggle badly against John Ryder, for example, who is a southpaw. But John Ryder's a very unique type of southpaw. He's aggressive and he's awkward. Bodelic's more of your standard southpaw, more upright, technically sound, but nothing that's going to worry Callum Smith, nothing he hasn't seen before. And you would expect Smith, as long as he's not bothered by inactivity, because we haven't seen him much since the Canelo fight, as long as that's out of the equation after the first couple of rounds, I think he'll do a job on him.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You kind of worry at what the level this fight will be at. Callum Smith and, both guys have only had 2 fights since 2019, one in 2020, one in 2021, and then obviously this fight. Callum Smith, one of those being Canelo, but his last fight at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on the undercard of the first fight for AJ Usyk was a complete walkover, and he proved that with the stoppage that he got. So I don't know what level both guys are going to be at. Hopefully a good one, because the winner goes on to fight Beterbiev, so they're going to need to be kind of in good shape at a good level, so that the end goal can be to win the WBC light heavyweight title.
I think Callum Smith against Beterbiev, if Beterbiev gets past Anthony Yard, of course, is a hugely intriguing fight. I think Callum Smith probably struggled a bit at super middleweight. I still don't think he'd have beaten Canelo if he hadn't struggled, but that plays into it. He got injured early on in that fight with his arm as well, which again was intentional by Canelo, but still massively hampers a fighter who's basically a one-arm fighter for a lot of the contests, and still went the distance. Filling out still into a cruiserweight. And I think against Beterbiev, if he comes through against Yard, as I say, I think that's a really exciting fight on paper.
Definitely. I think Beterbiev Yard obviously has to get done first. We'll leave that conversation, because I could talk about Beterbiev Yard, Beterbiev Smith for a long time. But yeah, good points you make there. And thanks for doing this. It's been good to look through the undercard, somewhat 80-20 for most fights, but a couple of 50-50s in there, and obviously the main event's going to be a good one as well.
Who's on the left-hand side in the main event on BoxRec?
Usyk.
Yeah, so the best chance of a right-hand side winner, it probably is Joshua.
Yeah.
And I don't think Joshua's going to win. I think Usyk's going to win, but I think that's probably the most likely out of all the right-hand side guys to win, except for maybe some of the undercard we haven't discussed because I don't know the fighters. But
I know there's a celebrity boxer on there. I don't know too much about it, but I saw everyone was going mad on socials about 2 weeks ago when he got announced, because he's fighting on the undercard of a World Heavyweight Championship, and he's just a social media.
If you don't know who he is, I've got no hope of knowing who he is. So.
That's the good way to end it. Thank you for watching. As we say, there's loads coming from Saudi on the channel, so stay tuned.
And please comment, like, subscribe. Tell us which fight on the undercard you're most looking forward to, and who's the most likely right-hand side winner.
Perfect.